and welcome back. Today is day 2 at the Threshold, a 21-day reflection series. Thank you for being here. Again, I am Katie, and I am the founder of Alumah, and maybe in the next day or so I can talk through a little bit how that idea came to be. Before that, I was the founder of another company, and which was a railroad compliance software application, very different to what I'm doing now. But before I jump into the second day, I just want to share, why am I even doing this? So as a CEO and founder, as a mom, as a partner, I really have felt that the more I can keep myself accountable to growth, the more I can take care of the people I love and the projects I love. So on my path, I have worked with many coaches. I've always been someone, for those of you who know me, who has really needed that spiritual path and have gravitated towards lots of workshops, lots of self-reflection moments, quiet moments in prayer, meditation, and I can see a real direct correlation to when I'm taking care of myself, I'm able to show up in the world better and to show up in a way that serves. And when I'm not, I'm just not able to give what I hope to give. I'm not able to be the person I hope to be. And so that has boiled down to me to this life philosophy that I feel accountable to leading an empowered life so I can truly empower others. That's really where Alumah came from. That's sort of my motivation to do this. I'm doing it just as much for myself as I am for you, if not more. I'm trusting that by doing topics and content and building things like Alumah that help me on my journey, that maybe there'll be others along the way that find the same value, that are walking the same path. Maybe the scenery is different, but certainly some of the lessons and some of the heartaches and some of the joys are gotta be the same. So thank you for being here. Day 2. Before I think through more on what's ahead for me, and there is a lot, and maybe 2026 is looming for you too, or maybe it's just you have a lot of aspirations and inspiration for this year. That's awesome. I want to just really close out last year with some intention and reflect so I can find closure on things that I haven't quite found closure on. So for day 2, I've written just an intention. I really today don't want to focus so much about evaluating ourselves or the past year, but I want to consider and reflect about the voice I use when I think about it to myself. What is the voice you use when you remember the past year? I find it easier to offer others compassion sometimes than myself. They say we're our worst critic. That can be true. Sometimes we also are in denial about our blind spots. But, I think that inner voice of how we talk to ourselves is so very important. And I did a meditation retreat. I was very, very fortunate to go to Assisi, Italy, and spend a week there. And preparing for that, I wrote down 12 things that had happened in the last 12 months to me personally that were major life changes. These were not little things. These were things like a 6-month home remodel, getting engaged, becoming an empty nester, selling my company, having to reinvent my career, which I haven't quite still, fully figured out, right? And 12 of them. And so, stress comes with good change, with bad change. But I had a lot of really exciting, good things happening in the last year. And when I think through how I reflect on the last year, I'm not always kind to myself because I can find moments where I wasn't my best self. You know, the pressure, the exhaustion, insecurity, fear, whatever the reason was, I wasn't able to show up how I wanted. And at the same time, if I zoom out on the last year, I can find a lot more compassion for myself. So that's what today's about. Reflecting, if those moments come that you're reflecting on your past year where you weren't your best self, I encourage you to zoom out. Take a bigger picture of what was going on with you and acknowledge maybe that wasn't the person you want to show up with, okay. But find that compassion by zooming out. And I'd like to encourage you, and you find those moments, to ask yourself, what is it I needed in that moment? Why was I not my best self? Did I need more rest? Did I need just some sense of security? Was I acting out of fear? And find that, and the more I think we can do that for ourselves, the more we can take care of ourselves. You know, it's not other people's jobs to fill those voids. It's ours. And that, I think, is what living an empowered life is about. So really, what I'm not asking about right now is, what lessons did you learn? What was the year good? Was the year bad? Instead, today's reflection is more, what's the tone of our inner voice? And how can we find more compassion for ourselves? I'm going to encourage you to zoom out and look at a bigger picture. And that's really it. I think in order for us to find closure into an eventful year, for at least me, 2025, very eventful year, you know, finding that compassion for myself and changing and shifting the perspective on smaller moments helps me find closure. So I will put a prompt up in the Alumah app for day 2 along these lines to help reflect on the tone as we look back at the past year and to offer ourselves more self-compassion. As I close, I'd like to offer another quote, this time from John Donahue. He is, I think, more of a modern day Christian mystic, and just the wisdom in his writings always just really give me a lot to reflect on or just feed my soul, which I think is true for all the mystics from all the different spiritual traditions. All right, so with that, let me close with this. When you are able to recognize all the beauty you have walked through, you can begin to feel the quiet confidence that comes from having survived. And that's what I hope for you today, is that you're a step closer to building more quiet confidence inside of your life. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow.